These modern days jesters, entertainers, or CLOWNS clowns, all they're singing is fun and games and sex and daggerism and all kind of hell and madness.
One bag of gold medal pan me now. Champion boy, you know the damn thing. Pan a poon, I'm a singing and blender.
YouTube family, I want to have a very honest conversation with all of you. Every now and then, YouTube family, I will make a video critiquing Jamaica. It's my home country. It's a country that I love. And every now and then I make a video regarding Jamaica. And yes, I am critiquing them. I am showing you guys what's going on that most of the media don't show you. But what happens, people, is that I get a pushback from some of my viewers and subscribers that I am making Jamaica look bad. I am gaslighting Jamaica. I'm burning out Jamaica. I can't show anything positive about Jamaica. And people, let me say this to you. That most of the information I get about Jamaica is from TVJ, CVM, The Gleaner, Sir P from Politics Watch, and a few other mediums. I try not to come up with my own idea to critique Jamaica. I want to get the facts and the data, so when I make a video about Jamaica, at least the information is correct. But I get some people who will say, tell you what, I am a sellout and I make Jamaica look bad, and I understand that part. However, being a student of politics, I've learned this over the years.
Yeah, boy.
That many oppressed people, and when I say oppressed people, I'm talking about people who have to work for somebody, people who look like us who have been under oppression for many years, that every oppressed group of people will internalize the oppression and attack each other. What do I mean by that? Say, for instance, Johnny and I, we went to the same school. Johnny graduated. Johnny worked hard every day, while me now, I realize that I will get ahead pretty fast if I join a gang or if I pick up the bad man lifestyle. So Johnny worked hard every day, build his family, buy his house, bought this nice little car. No, Mr. Brown down the street has about 5 or 6 cars. But Mr. Brown has links and connections. If I go and steal one of Mr. Brown's car, eventually, Mr. Brown gonna get information from the streets or from the police or other sources that I stole his car. So what I do, I internalize the oppression and avoid Mr. Brown, because the repercussion coming from Mr. Brown will be very severe. So I internalize my oppression, and what I do, I watch my friend Johnny, I case him out. Although I have my links and my tools and my goons, I watch Johnny. And you know what I do, people? I case Johnny out. And during the dust or during nighttime, I go and put my tool in Johnny's side and rob Johnny and maybe kill Johnny. That's the mindset of the oppressed class. Many of you observe the mindset of the oppressed again. For instance, if you ever work in any company or a factory, you will always hear the employees griping and murmuring and say, guess what? The boss ain't treating us right. We ain't getting enough pay. Da. And they complain among themselves. And when the meeting comes for them to talk about the issues that's bothering them, they all go silent. They ain't saying nothing because they want to get fired. And they know what the boss is going to do. That's the mindset of the oppressed class. Why do I use those two analogies? Because when I highlight Jamaica and I use the information from CVM, TVJ, and the Gleaner, if you should observe any of those news mediums almost every night you always hear of a murder on Jamaicans channel almost every night. It's maybe a mass one or maybe a few or some homicide or some family steal, but you always almost hear somebody biting the dust on those mediums. Now, the people who are criticizing me, people, they don't have the strength for CVM, TVJ, the Gleaner, and all other news sources. They don't have the strength for those ones. They're attacking me and say, hey, tell you what, I'm making Jamaica look bad. Now, let me give you another scenario. If you should listen to Jamaican news lately, America put travel advisory on them, Canada put travel advisory on them. But if you listen to the news lately, you hear a lot of mass shooting taking place in Jamaica. Something that is very profound, that is sickening to the society.
Shut your mouth and let me talk. I know you would find it. I know you would have a problem with that.
When you hear that criminals are eliminating children, old people, let me also put women in it. Also, some of the women are bad. And it's like a 1 day or 2 day news, you know the society is gone. Let me add some more to it. When you have, I would say, entertainers who are singing all kind of songs, not the entertainers that we grew up on, like the Bob Marley, the Peter Tosh, the Dennis Brown, the Garnet Silk, those guys who had some message in their music. These modern days jesters, entertainers, or CLOWNS pounds, all they're singing is fun and games and sex and daggerism and all kind of hell and madness. And when it comes to people dying innocently, they're silent. Silent. Only if it affects them, they'll say something. Let me bring it a little bit deeper. Jamaica produces a lot of athletes. When you hear the news channel reporting all the murders, the death, and the mayhem, and those athletes are silent, they won't say nothing, then you know who rules the country. So what's the use for a government? What's the use for a government? For those of you who are critiquing me, the first responsibility of any government is to provide security for its population. You're going to have death, you're going to have some murders, but it's to provide security. When your government cannot provide security, and in Jamaica's case for 40 years, 4 decades, and finding excuses, zozo, state of emergency, coming up with trinkets and, oh, we're going to give a reward for all of these criminals. And the judicial system has the same old colonial laws. When you can sit back and hear a government would find all excuses instead of changing laws, implementing bills that will create new laws, create teeth that criminals can respect the law, then you know the government has failed. So how come you guys can burn me out when I'm trying to show something that is wrong? Now, I've said in one of my videos, I do not want to touch Jamaica's topic, although Jamaica is a lightning rod. Jamaica is a gift that keeps on giving. But I do not like to touch Jamaica's topic because guess what? I am not going back. But there's something that is in all of us called a conscience. God put that in us. Hear what the Bible says. A person who winneth soul is wise. Yes, you try to bring a person to Christ and say that, okay, well, they need to submit to Christ and then they'll be born again and God will take away their sins. That's the spiritual side. For me, by making these videos, I'm trying to educate, inspire, and inform so people can think objectively and logically so they can make informed decisions based on the evidence that's presented to them. So if I say to you, go to Rwanda or go to maybe Indonesia or go to Thailand or go to Singapore, if I'm saying that to you, it's not a matter that I don't like Jamaica. What I'm trying to do is to save your life. Jamaica has the highest murder rate in the world. It's almost 50 deaths per 100,000. Meaning that if 100,000 people live in a neighborhood, there's a probability that 50 of them are going to be murdered. That stats is too high to take the risk. So if you live in America, if you live in England, if you live anywhere outside and you say, tell you what, you want to retire and you want to go back home. What I'm saying to you is not a matter I'm trying to chase you away from Jamaica, or if you live in Jamaica and get fed up. I'm not chasing you away from Jamaica. All I am saying that be objective in your analysis and stop using emotional intelligence to make your decisions. Because the probability of you getting harmed mortally is very high. And with 194 countries in the world, it's a big world. Why do I want to make a decision based on the fact that I was born there with a high probability that I might die there? Why not take evasive action and go somewhere else? There's a saying, people, one of the most effective ways to cook a lobster is to put the lobster in cold water, put it on the stove, and cover it up. Turn the stove on. As the water gets warm, the lobster keeps adjusting its body temperature to deal with the warmness that's around it. Eventually, as the lobster stays there, it'll get cooked. Jamaica has been plagued with so much crime for 4 decades that people have become so normalized with it. People have adjusted to it so well in what some psychologists call the Stockholm Syndrome. Meaning that they start to love the perpetrators of the crime and violence. This don't make any sense. Recently, I was watching the ad that the Prime Minister of the opposition, Mr. Siaga, and a pastor did, issuing $25 million to catch the criminals who perpetrated the massacre in Clarendon. People had to laugh. It's like a joke, a big joke. From the last time I checked, the PNP won election and got a majority, which is a mandate to do whatever they want in government. The last election we had with Andrew Holness, he won a majority. He got a mandate from the people to change the laws and change the system. However, he has not changed any laws to make the country any better. So when you look at the entire system, it's a game. You're going to tell me that successive governments, PNP, JLP, got mandates, majority, so they can change laws. They can change the whole political structure, the judiciary. They can build prisons. They can make laws with teeth that will make criminals think twice before they commit a crime. Just like what Nayib Bukele in El Salvador did. But they're not changing any laws to make it safer for the average Jamaicans. You know why, people? Because the crime is a buffer. The crime plays for them. Because crime destabilizes society. And if you remove the crime and the people become unified and start to think, then there's trouble for the politicians. So the crime is kept high as a buffer to keep them in power. Ain't nothing changing. So when you see them came all four, Prime Minister, the opposition leader, Mr. Siaga, the head of the PSOJ, that's the corporate head right there, and then the pastor. Those four came out and talk about they're going to give a reward for 25 million. What a joke. Are we going to give money for everybody who commit crime? Or are we going to change the laws, create more teeth in the judicial system so criminals will always think twice before they act? But no. They come up and they say, as something happened, they react. Oh, let's go put a state of emergency. And when the soldiers leave, then the crime go up again. What kind of madness is this? Nonetheless, when I really assess it, can I really blame them? Yes, I can. If you look at the economic and political elites in Jamaica, they've designed the population to be buffoons. After slavery, after independence, they've never educate, re-socialize, or discipline the population. Even though they had the chance, they never did that. And because they never did that, you have political illiterates, the population running around, supporting leaders who are completely incompetent to lead. So therefore, as they say, you get what you pay for. So on that note, let me say this to you, my viewers and subscribers. Don't attack me when I'm reporting what the news media report. I am just putting a spin on it. Don't attack me because I am showing Jamaicans there's other countries to go. I'm trying to save a few lives. The little I'm doing is just trying to help somebody else. I am not condemning Jamaica. Jamaica is a country that I love. It's my native land. But after 4 decades, how many more decades are we going to live in fear, anarchy, hopelessness, and criminals running riot while we have leaders? Jamaican people, we have been some of the boldest, most courageous, creative, athletic, and spontaneous people on the planet. But I will also say, Jamaican people, you're some of the biggest cowards on the planet. And I'm not talking about picking up violence against the government. I don't believe in violence. But why I say some of you are the biggest cowards? Because you take this nonsense over and over, decades after decades, and you do nothing. And all you do complain. And watching your countries completely fall apart due to criminals. And your leaders are not doing anything. Look at Israel recently. The entire Israeli population got up and said, no, we don't want none of this thing with our leader. They shut the whole place down and government has to listen. The Jamaican people won't do that. You know why? Because crime and violence has demoralized you and beat every resistance out of you. The crime is not a coincidence. It's by design. To beat you down, to demoralize you, to make you become hopeless. And when you become hopeless, whatever the government gives you, you accept. That is psychological warfare 101.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators who committed this heinous act.
The facilitators who supplied them with arms, intelligence, and transportation.
Those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, say something.
Call Crime Stop.
On that note, people, drop your comments. Let me know what you think. And as usual, Jamaican is out. And a logical reasoning and transformation I talk about. People, see you in the next video.